Now, which is very important ayah of the Quran, which is in Surah Al-Isra. AJZA قرأت القرآن. And when you recite the Quran, جعلنا بينك وبين الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة حجابا مستورا. When you recite this Quran, we'll place between you and that godless world, which does not believe in the hereafter. We'll place a hijab. A hijab is a curtain which separates you from them and which covers you and therefore protects you. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim. ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. Any questions? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, my name is Abdul Aziz. I'm from Johor Bahru. I don't know whether my question is right or wrong. Please correct my question. You have been traveling throughout the world and you see on reciting on Al Quran. It's a very good, interesting subject. So, have you got any opinion of how many percent understand the Quran and how many percent reciting the Quran as Muslim? Thank you, sir.
Good. The question is, yes, it is important to recite the Quran, but do we understand the Quran? Do we study the Quran? If you want to spend another 1 or 2 hours here, I'll be happy. I'll be happy to teach the second stage. I begin with the recitation of the Quran. I want to make you fall in love with the Quran. That's my strategy. That the day you don't recite the Quran, on that day you are uneasy. You're restless because I didn't recite the Quran today. You become attached to the Quran. The Quran is not dead, the Quran is alive. And if you want to study the Quran, you've got to bond with the Quran. Bonding. The bonding, the attachment with the Quran comes with the recitation of the Quran. Okay? When you are reciting the Quran, then Allah says, ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانًا. Let me recite the whole passage. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, stop, don't do what you're doing, stop it. Do not hasten your tongue to memorize this Quran. Don't do it, stop it. And in Surah Al-Taha, what is it? وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يُقْضَى إِلَيْكَ وَحْيُهُ. Do not hasten with the Quran. Wait until the wahi is complete. Then you will memorize the whole Quran. So, وَلَا تُحَرِّكْ بِهِ لِسَانَكَ لِتَعْجَلَ بِهِ. Do not hasten your tongue to memorize this Quran, O Muhammad. Inna alayna jama'ahu wa Qur'ana. We are going to put all the parts together to make a whole Quran, and then we are going to recite the Quran. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ. And when we have recited this Quran to you, O Muhammad, فَاتَّبِعْ Qur'an. You must follow that way of recitation. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَ. Only after we have taught you how to recite the Quran, only then will we teach you the meaning of the Quran. So study of the Quran cannot be undertaken unless you're reciting the Quran or you're living in Washington. they have their way of studying the Quran in Washington and in London and so on. Leave them with their studies. Our way is you have to recite the Quran every day without fail. And when you're reciting the Quran every day, and you must start young. When they are young, they must start. When you're reciting the Quran every day, then you undertake the study of the Quran. And how to study the Quran, here is my book. Methodology for study of the Quran. And I will have to take another hour or 2 hours to teach this subject. Any other question? If no more questions, yes, Palestine. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Hassan from Palestine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What's your opinion on the war in Afghanistan with our brothers, the genocide going on? And does it have to do anything with the Dajjal at this time, like extraditing his come out? And the lack of support from the Arab and Islamic world towards Palestine?
The question is, she wants me to comment on what's happening in Gaza.
Yes, sir.
He wants me to comment from the Quran on what's happening in Gaza at this time. I will hold that question for a while, if you don't mind, so we can stay with our topic. And then we come back to you. No, any other question on our topic today? Yes?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. The school of thought about reciting Quran for women on their monthly cycle.
Right.
Why
I've answered this question 500,000 times. When a sister has a certain period of the month when she cannot recite the Quran, what does she do? Answer. When your period ends and you've taken your bath, then if there is sufficient time left in the month before the next moon to be able to double up, instead of reciting one juz, you recite two, to try to finish, then do that. But if you do not have the capacity to do that, then what you do is you continue reciting the Quran until you khatam the Quran, even if you have to go on into the next month. Do not stop the recitation. Keep on going into the new month. And when you have finished, you khatam the Quran in the new month, then the remaining time that you have left in that month, before the next new moon, you can recite from wherever you want in the Quran while waiting for the new moon to come. Is that clear? Is that clear? Do you understand?
Yes. But there is another school of thought saying that women can recite the Quran during their monthly cycle. So
The verse of the Quran is in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. And I take an oath, a qasam, by the position in which the stars are located. وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. And this is no ordinary oath of qasam. This is the mother of all oaths of qasam. But the positions in which the stars are located. إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. This is a recitation which is noble and generous. فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ. And this recitation is located in a kitab which is protected. لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. None can touch this Quran except those who are clean and pure. Well, you can go any bookstore. You could drink your whiskey. You could be drunk. And you go in a bookstore, you can buy a copy of the Quran and touch it. Huh? You could eat lahm al-khinzir, full your belly, and then go and buy a copy of the Quran and touch it. So then how can Allah say, none can touch it. لا يمسه إلا المطهرون, except those who are pure, clean and pure. So what is Allah talking about? Is He talking about the recitation or is He talking about the kitab?
Kitab.
إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. This is a Quran, meaning Quran means recitation. Quran means from qara, recitation. Fi kitabin maknoon. And this recitation is located in a book which is protected. La yamassuhu. None can touch the recitation. But recitation is in the world of sound. Recitation is in the world of sound. How can you touch something in the world of sound? And so we say this is ayah mutashabiha, not ayah muhkama. An ayah muhkama means one which has to be understood literally. An ayah mutashabiha means one which has to be interpreted, ta'wil, to understand it. And so when Allah says none can touch this Quran, we say the meaning of this is what Allah is saying is you cannot penetrate this Quran, not even to scratch the Quran, not even to scratch the Quran, unless your heart is clean and pure with Allah. So this has nothing to do with touching, physical touching of the Quran. So if a woman is not allowed to touch the Quran when she is having a menses, it is not because of this verse. This verse does not prevent her. No. If she is prevented from touching the Quran when in her menses, it has to be because of a hadith, not the Quran. Any other questions before we turn to our brother here? No other questions? Okay. Our brother has asked about what is happening in Gaza, because he's from Palestine. I wrote Jerusalem in the Quran 20 something years ago. Al-Quds fil Quran. And if you read this book, you'll see that those who are engaged in oppression in the Holy Land today are not Banu Israel, they are Gog and Magog. They are Gog and Magog, and they're taking Banu Israel, taking the Jews to their destruction. They are a European people. Netanyahu, I believe, was born somewhere in Poland. They are a European people who have no genetic links with Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. They're not a Semitic people. No, the Arabs are closer than them to Banu Israel. So these are European people who accepted Judaism and became European Jews. And they are the ones who gave birth to the Zionist movement. And they have brought a Judeo-Christian alliance into being. And Allah speaks in the Quran about the Judeo-Christian alliance, an alliance of Jews and Christians. But this is one of the most misunderstood verses in the whole Quran. And I am today sitting in Nasyrul Quran of AJZA and Reciting. And this is an organization which is devoted to the Quran. So this organization should spend a little time and listen to me now. I urge you in Nasyrul Quran to listen to me. This is one of the most misunderstood verses in the whole Quran. Not because somebody has translated the Quran